I recently finished working on this Rooster project. It was quite fun because it allowed me to really experiment with different tools and really understand geometry node even some more, especially with tilting and alignment of haircuts, feathers, just the hair system. So in this video, I wanted to kind of go through the process with you guys on how this was all set up. And I hope it will be fun and I hope you guys enjoy it. So, by the way, if you want to kind of see the final artwork, I mean, this is the final, but if you want to kind of see more of it, you can check my ArtStation. The link is in the description as always. Okay, so this is how it looks here in my blends file. It's a pretty simple scene, quite light actually. And you can see the topology of the chicken. It's also rigged with a very basic rig that allows for posing. You can rig it for animation, but I just rigged it quite simply. The shader setup is quite straightforward. I basically just sculpted and textured everything in ZBrush. And we can see the displacement map. So I use displacement for kind of preserving some details. But also one thing I learned with like working with geometry nodes hairs is like when you're using you're trying to animate it or trying to use the surface deform. When you have displacement, sometimes it tends to give very weird results. So I used a vertex group to exclude certain region. So if we go here, I excluded certain regions where I wanted to paint in the feathers and to avoid any complication. And it all worked out since those areas will not be visible. And yes, so that's just basically the mesh setup. Is pretty standard where you go about kind of shading characters. So to do more fun stuff, let's look at how the character the feather and the hair for how it was put together. So I'm using this tool called Hair Break. It's my tool on a shameless plug if you want to kind of check it out for yourself. It's on Blender Market, but it's quite powerful, especially when it comes to creating hair with geometry nodes. Okay. Are you there, bro? Oh, sorry, I think I put it in front. Yeah. Okay, so we can just enable that, and let's start from maybe the head. I'm going to disable all and enable just the neck, head. Okay, so the way I go about creating the feathers is I do my basic groom. So I'm using the standard curve empty hair. So this is it, and then we can go into sculpt mode and just basically groom this as you would usually. And then once I'm done grooming it, I make sure to kind of keep it clean and keep the flow clean. And I just apply this feather effect on it. So how does this work? We can go through this quickly. So basically you can select this and click on add feather. So it's quite awesome. It handles using like curved feathers pretty well. It's quite optimized, and the version you actually see now is a much more advanced version compared to the previous video. So if you're using Hairbreak, I'll advise you to kind of update it. This is more kind of put together. It has been more battle tested, so you should try to update the version you're using. So this is the UI. If this is intimidating for you, you can always go here. We go to the geometry node setup and you make sure you have the feather node selected. You can see a more organized version where everything is listed out and organized nicely. One thing I exposed are a lot of parameters for different attributes that you can use for your shading. You can use UV mapping where you paint texture on the chicken and you can apply the textures on the feather. You have random, just the basic stuff you would need to kind of set up hair, so it has a lot of attributes. You can also select your material, so that's what you saw me doing earlier. Previously it came with its own shipped in materials, but like as I was testing it, I found that it's it becomes quite cumbersome when you have to integrate all those materials. So when you create hair in Hairbrick, usually it creates a new material. So I felt like it's more simpler if you use that already created material and kind of build it up yourself. Since the material that comes with the feather just comes with just the attributes, so it's a bit redundant. I could easily just expose all the attributes that you can use for your shading here. So let's do a quick example how you can go about creating like a simple hairstyle feather. So let's say we add a plane and subdivide this slightly. So I'm gonna grab a couple of, I'm just gonna grab that edge and pull it out so we have like a nice curved surface. Okay, and then we create a new hair. So it's like I said, it's just adding the hair curve. So we can grab maybe like the density brush. We use a length of 1 and just paint in bunch of hairs that we want to turn to feathers. So don't be worried for my computer. This is like I said, the feather system is quite optimized to handle complex hair systems. So once you do this, you can just go ahead and add the feather. It adds it, so you can, some parameters you can play with quickly is like the uniform radius. So we can increase this, and it kind of increase the uniform. By default, you're not seeing other feathers, so you need to kind of reduce. If you reduce it, the optimization, then you can see all. But if you want to see less, you can optimize it like this. Okay, so for the material, we just need to get the hair material, which is this. So hair material, we input that there, and we're good to go. So how can you customize this? One thing you want to get immediately is some randomization, especially if it's just random hair like this. You can use the probability scale to create random scale for the feathers. You can also use the probability of shapes to create random shapes so that each feathers will have random shape chosen randomly. You can also control those shapes on how it would appear. If you want to increase the count of the barbs, you can come here. By default, it's set to 160 for render. So if you had rendered this immediately, you'll get a lot of barbs. But in the viewport, it's like 25, so you can increase this to like 160. So this is what you get if you had rendered it. You can also control the radius for the barbs through the Hairbrick radius, so we can set it 0.02, and you can see it's controlling it as you would usually. But for the shaft, you want to use the shaft radius here to control the shaft because it's geometry, so you can make it big or small. So how can you make the feathers look more awesome? You can add like noise depending on the type of fall you're trying to create. Uh, okay, I'll reduce the base noise to 0.01, and then we can use the range. Is it still short for? Okay, so you can do that. You can also play with the shape of the hairs, so you're not kind of stuck with one type of hair. So you can play with it, and then you can introduce asymmetry, where one is using a different shape and the other is using a different shape. Anyways, let's this you can play with it yourself, but let's go into like the materials and see how that works. Just optimize it some more. Okay, so if you want to create your own material shader based off this, we can come here. So this is your usual principal BSDF. So like everything, other attributes you will need are present here. So if we go into render view and come here, give me a second. I'll probably make this bigger slightly. Okay. So if we select the 4 and we come to the attributes, so let's add a simple attribute node, and we can copy bob random. So once you input that, you can see parameter for the bob random, and you can use this as a mask. So if you want to get information about the shaft, you click on that, so you have information about the shaft. If you want to get the shaft length, then you can control kind of the distance to create more mask, basically. You also have information about rims of the feathers, so you can control, like if you want to create add color there. So, and one I recently added is random, to get random information of all the feathers if you want to use random colors for them. So you could add like a color converter color ramp, and we just do a simple RGB. Here we go. So you can randomize the color. You also have the barb's length. So you can control that too. So the UV, when you want to use the UV, you can just copy the UV, paste it here, add the image texture you want to use, and basically load any image you paint on the plane, and it's going to transfer that image onto this. One important, like I said, I had to do a lot of improvement on this particular system, and that's had to do with how the feathers conformed to the mesh. So let's just groom this. Let's line down. Maybe this, I'll probably have to go back to the scene. So if we display everything, and let's reduce the shaft radius slightly, it doesn't obstruct us. We can look at how it's tilting. If I enable tilt, this tilt system is like quite amazing. So usually the problems you have with like haircuts and feathers, especially when the most difficult stuff is to have it to face the mesh. And this basically solves that. You have I'm actually using two tilting system that you can alternate from to be able to determine what works best for you. So if we go around this, you cannot see any like transition seam of it not conforming to the mesh. So that's quite what made this particular system powerful. I mean, it's easy to create the feather, but if the feather doesn't feel like it's conforming to this to the surface, it kind of breaks the illusion. So that was something quite important for this. I didn't use the like hair curves feathers for the entire stuff. For some instance, I had to use let's say the large wing texture card. So it's indicated here. Just keep it organized. Some I used texture cards, some I used basically real hair curves. So you can see how it conforms to the surface. So if we make sure we have the right ones selected, so you can get different results. So this is what we get without the texture being aligned. So if you enable the tilt, it faces the mesh now, and you can use proximity tilt, where it tilts to the mesh based on how much it's close to the surface. So this works well if you can just experiment and see what works best for your particular assets. For the like foot, I think this one, you can see how it conforms to the skin, and that's because of the new kind of tilting we used. At least I used. I had a lot of sleepless nights trying to figure this out. If we use proximity tilt, you can see it can create different effects. So let's say, for example, you don't like that we're seeing a seam of this. So you can just rotate this, and it's rotating on the surface normal, and it just works. So it makes it really, really easy to now use Hairbreak to create like a haircut system for your game character, where it just works right off the bat once you enable the tilt. So this project kind of really let me improve the Hairbreak add-on. So to use the most improved one, you can get on Blender Market. It's there. So yeah, this was a very fun project for me. I was quite proud of the outcome. I mean, it's not perfect, but it was a great way to kind of test my artistic and improve my technical skills. Yeah, so yeah, this was something fun. I don't know how informative it was, but if you enjoyed it, please give this video a thumbs up. If you wish to see something from me, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button. So bye bye for now. I hope you guys had a lovely Valentine's Day with your partners. Okay, so bye bye. See you next time.